Good evening. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. So happy you're here for our Christmas Eve service. We're going to start by singing together the first Noel. Please rise in body or in spirit. The first Noel, the angel did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. They look at up and saw a star shining in the east beyond them far, and to the earth it gave great light, and so it continued both day and night. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel, and by the light of that same star, three magi came from country far to seek a king. Was their intent, and to follow the star wherever it went. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. And no, not yet. Oh, we're going to sing another one. Don't worry. We're going to sing Angels We Have Heard on High. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo, Gloria in excelsis Deo. Shepherds, why this jubilee? Why these songs of happy cheer? What great brightness did you see? What glad tidings did you hear? Gloria in excelsis Deo, Gloria in excelsis Deo. Nice,
Welcome, good evening, Merry Christmas. Welcome to Christmas Eve at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. And if you are joining us from home, online, I want to welcome you into this beautiful space that some magical elves have created and made like a beautiful Christmas fairy kingdom for all of us. So welcome to those of you joining us at home. Welcome to you here. This is the Unitarian Universalist congregation where we are transforming lives through courageous action and soulful connection. I am Reverend Taryn Strauss, senior minister here, and so glad to welcome you to gather tonight on holy ground, on this ground that was first cultivated and lived on by the Muskogee Creek Native people. We honor them as the first people of this land, and we seek relationship and reconciliation. If this is your first time at a Unitarian Universalist Christmas Eve, you are most welcome, and it pretty much changes every single year. It's always new. We welcome you who are Christian, you who are Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, spiritual but not religious, atheist, agnostic. We welcome you who are queer, who are transgender. All races and all ages are welcome here all of the time, and especially on this night. If you are free tomorrow morning, we hope you will join us for Christmas Day fellowship in the social hall, down that hallway, where we will share coffee, donuts, Christmas music, and conversation. Just a warm place to be together on Christmas Day. We will not, however, have worship in this room on Christmas Day tomorrow because we will be tired. We also hope you will join us right here in this sanctuary next Sunday, January 1st, for our annual New Year's Day Labyrinth Walk, an intention-setting ritual. This is open to all ages. It is a meaningful beginning to a new year led by our lay ministers. We are so grateful to all the wonderful elves backstage who made this Christmas magic happen tonight in this sanctuary. And I am proud to be joined on stage leading worship by all of our talented worship leaders this evening. So grateful to all of the people who are making tonight happen. We invite you into soulful connection tonight as we journey deeply into the famous Christmas poem, The Work of Christmas, written by the late, great theologian and mystic, Atlanta-based pastor and writer, Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. And as Dr. Tony Stringer reads this poem to open our service, I will light our chalice flame, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith.
When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart.
When the song of the angels is stilled,
choir. Now is the moment of magic, when the whole round earth turns again toward the sun. And here's a blessing. The days will be longer and brighter now, even as the winter settles in to chill us. Now is the moment of magic, when people, beaten down and broken, with nothing left but misery and candles and their own clear voices, kindle tiny lights and whisper secret music. And here's a blessing. The dark universe is suddenly illuminated by the lights of the menorah, suddenly ablaze with the lights of the kinara. And the whole world is glad and loud with winter singing. Now is the moment of magic, when an eastern star beckons the ignorant toward an unknown goal. And here's a blessing. They find nothing in the end but an ordinary baby, born at midnight, born in poverty. And the baby's cry, like bells ringing, makes people wonder as they wander through their lives what human love might really look like, sound like, feel like. Now is the moment of magic. And here's a blessing. We already possess all the gifts we need. We've already received our presents. Ears to hear music, eyes to behold lights, hands to build true peace on earth, and to hold each other tight in love.
Let us rise together in body or in spirit and sing In the Bleak Midwinter. In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made known, earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long ago. What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. What can I give him? Give my heart.
To heal the broken. The village children called him Mr. Gloomy, but in fact, his name was Toomey, Mr. Jonathan Toomey. And though it's not kind to call people names, this one fitted quite well. For Jonathan Toomey seldom smiled and never laughed. He went about mumbling and grumbling and grumping and griping. He complained that the church bells rang too often and that the children played too loudly. Mr. Toomey was a wood carver. Some said he was the best wood carver in the whole valley. He spent his days sitting at a workbench, carving beautiful shapes from blocks of pine and hickory and chestnut wood. After supper, he sat in a straight-backed chair near the fireplace, smoking his pipe and staring into the flames. The village people didn't know it, but there was a reason for his gloom. Some years earlier, when Jonathan Toomey was young and full of life and love, his wife and baby had become very ill. And because those were the days before medicines and skilled doctors, his wife and baby had died. So Jonathan Toomey had packed his belongings and traveled till his tears stopped. He settled into a tiny house at the edge of a village to do his wood carving. One day in early December, there was a knock at Jonathan's door. Mumbling and grumbling, he went to answer it. There stood a woman and a young boy. "I'm the widow McDowell. I'm new to your village. This is my son, Thomas. I'm 7 and I know how to whistle. Whistling is pish-posh," said the woodcarver gruffly. I need something carved. And she told Jonathan about a very special set of figures her grandfather had carved for her when she was a girl. After I moved here, I discovered that they were lost. Could you describe the figures for me? Oh, there were sheep and an angel, Mary, Joseph, the baby, Jesus, and the wise men. 3 of them, added Thomas. Will you take the job? I will. Oh, I'm grateful. How soon can you have them ready? They will be ready when they are ready. The following week, there was a knock at the woodcarver's door. Muttering and sputtering, he went to answer it. There stood the widow McDowell and Thomas. Excuse me, but Thomas has been begging to come and watch you work. He says he wants to be a wood carver when he grows up. I'll be quiet. You won't even know I'm here. Please, please. With a grumble, the wood carver stepped aside to let them in. He pointed to a stool near his workbench. No noise. The widow McDowell handed Mr. Toomey a warm loaf of cornbread as a token of thanks. Then she took out her knitting and sat in a rocking chair in the far corner of the cottage. Not there! No one sits in that chair. So she moved to the straight-back chair by the fire. Thomas sat very still. And after a very long time, Thomas cleared his throat and whispered, Mr. Toomey, may I ask a question? The woodcarver glared at Thomas. Is that my sheep you're carving? Mr. Toomey, excuse me, but you're carving my sheep wrong. The widow McDowell's knitting needles stopped clicking. Mr. Toomey's knife stopped carving. Thomas went on. It's a beautiful sheep, but my sheep looked happy. That's pish-posh. Sheep are sheep. They cannot look happy. Well, mine did. They knew they were with the baby Jesus, so they were happy. When the church bells chimed 6 o'clock, the widow McDowell said it was time to leave. Thomas thanked the woodcarver for allowing him to watch. A few days later, there was a knock on the woodcarver's door. He smoothed his hair down this time as he went to answer it. At the door were the widow and her son. May I watch again? Thomas watched the woodcarver work on the figure of an angel. After a very long time, Thomas spoke. Mr. Toomey, excuse me, is that my angel you're carving? Yes, and would you do me the favor of telling me exactly what I am doing wrong? Well, my angel looked like one of God's most important angels because it was sent to baby Jesus. And just how does one make an angel look important? Well, you'll be able to do it. You are the best carver in the valley. After another very long time, Thomas spoke. Mr. Toomey, will you teach me to carve? I'm a very busy man. But he put down the important angel. You will carve a bird. A robin, I hope. I like robins. With a piece of charcoal, the woodcarver sketched a robin on a piece of brown paper. He handed Thomas a small block of pine and a knife. He showed him how to lop the corners from the block and slowly smooth the edges of the wood into curves. Thomas copied the woodcarver's strokes, head bent, tongue working from side to side of his lower lip as he concentrated. When the church bells rang 6 o'clock, Jonathan Toomey was holding Thomas's hand in his, guiding the knife along the edge of a wing. He didn't hear them ringing. The widow McDowell said it was time to leave. Thomas brushed the wood shavings from his shirt. Then he reached out and brushed 2 especially large pieces of wood from Jonathan's beard. He thanked the woodcarver for teaching him how to carve. A few days later, there was a knock at the woodcarver's door. Mr. Toomey jumped up to answer it. At the door were the widow McDowell and Thomas. Jonathan said to Thomas, I'm about to begin the last 2 figures, Mary and the baby. Can you tell me how your figures looked? Well, they were the most special of all. Jesus was smiling and reaching up to his mother, and Mary looked like she loved him very much. Thank you, Thomas, said the woodcarver. Tomorrow is Christmas. Is there any chance the figures will be ready? The widow McDowell asked. They will be ready when they are ready. I understand. And she handed Jonathan 2 parcels. Merry Christmas. I want no presents. That is exactly why we are giving them. She put them down on the table and left. Slowly, he opened the first parcel. Inside was a red scarf, hand-knitted, warm and bright. He tied the scarf around his neck. The other parcel held a robin, crudely carved of pine. A smile twitched at the corner of Jonathan's mouth as he ran his fingers over the lopsided wings. The woodcarver then sat down and began to sketch the final figures, Mary and Jesus. He drew Mary, then crumpled the sketch into a ball and tossed it on the floor. He drew the baby, crumpled the sketch into a ball and tossed it with the first. Soon there was a small mountain of crumpled papers at his feet. When he heard the church bells announcing the midnight Christmas service, he got up. Slowly, he opened a drawer beneath the cupboard and took out a tiny white baby blanket and a little pair of blue socks. From the bottom of the drawer, he lifted out a beautifully carved picture frame. In the frame was a charcoal sketch of a woman sitting in a rocking chair holding the baby. The baby's arms were reaching up, touching the woman's face. The woman was looking down at the baby, smiling. Jonathan sat down in his rocking chair and held the picture against his chest. 2 tears trailed into his beard. When he finally took the picture to his workbench and began to carve, his fingers worked quickly, surely. He carved all through the night. The next day, there was a knock at the widow McDowell's door. When she opened it, there stood the woodcarver, his neck wrapped in a red scarf. Mr. Toomey, what a surprise! Merry Christmas! "The figures are ready," he said as he stepped inside. From a box, Jonathan unpacked 2 happy sheep because they were with Jesus. He unpacked a very important angel with mighty wings. He unpacked 3 wise men, a serious and caring Joseph, and Mary, looking down, loving her precious baby son. Jesus was smiling and reaching up to touch his mother's face. That day, Jonathan went to the Christmas service with the widow McDowell and Thomas. And that day in the churchyard, the village children saw Thomas throw back his head, showing his eyes as clear as an August sky, and laugh. No one ever called him Mr. Gloomy again.
The work of Christmas is to release the prisoner. What was in Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman's heart when he wrote those words long ago? Today, perhaps we think of Brittany Griner, we think of Mumia Abu-Jamal, Leonard Peltier, and every political prisoner who is still held captive. Historically, Christmas was a time when those who were enslaved could claim an opportunity to break free. The moment of magic when more people moved from being enslaved toward becoming free. Though born into slavery in Jamaica way back in 1801, Sam Sharp was a freedom fighter. At the time, he was the captive of a British attorney, but Sharp had his mind set on freedom. Educated and baptized, Sharp became a deacon of the Burchell Baptist Church. Now, British colonizers tolerated religious services, believing they would make enslaved people docile and submissive. Sam Sharp instead used these services to preach a message of freedom. At church, Sharp read newspaper accounts of the debates over slavery that raged through the British Parliament in 1831. He came to believe that December of that year was the time for his people to end their forced labor and to demand emancipation. What began as a nonviolent protest and work stoppage eventually became a full-on rebellion. The Christmas Rebellion, it was called, in which enslaved Jamaicans began torching the plantations on which they were held captive. Vastly outnumbered by the people they had enslaved, the British responded with violence and brutality, quashing the rebellion. Sam Sharp surrendered to stop the bloodshed and ultimately lost his life at the hands of those who would keep him in bondage. But before he died, he looked upon the place where he was to be executed. He uttered these final words: "I would rather die upon yonder gallows than live on in slavery." But the dream of freedom never dies. 2 years later, Parliament abolished slavery throughout the British Empire, crediting the Christmas Rebellion as the final necessary push that brought freedom to millions. To release the prisoner is the work of Christmas. And we all hold some power to speak out for the freedom of those who are imprisoned. The dream of freedom never dies, just as the work of Christmas never ends.
They say meditation, a practice of meditation, begins with just one breath. Rebuilding the nations begins with just one life. As Unitarian Universalists, we treat each new life as a precious blessing, just as it is. It is all the world, and it is just one life.
For so the children come, and so they have been coming. Always in the same way they come, newly born into this world.
Each night a child is born, is a holy night, a time for singing, a time for wondering, a time for worshiping. Each night a child is born, is a
No angels herald their beginning. No prophets predict their future courses. No wise men see a star to show where to find the babe that will save humankind.
Each night a child is born, is a holy night, a time for singing, a time for wondering, a time for worship.
This evening's offering is in support of the Minister's Beneficence Fund, a fund which is given in confidence to UUCA members or friends in the community who are struggling with financial need. At this time of year, the need can be particularly great. Please give generously so we may feed the hungry, so we may bring warmth to those left out in the cold in these challenging times. This evening's Christmas offering will now be given and most gratefully received.
I don't care if the house is packed or the strings of light are broken. I don't care if the gifts are wrapped or if there's nothing here to open. Love is not a toy, and no paper will conceal it. Love is simply joy that I am home.
I don't care if the carpet's stained, we've got food upon the table. I don't care if it's gonna rain, our little room is warm and stable. Love is who we are, and no season can contain it. Love would never fall for that.
We sing
Let love lead us. Love is Christmas.
Why so scared that you'll mess it up when perfection keeps you haunted? All we need is your best, my love. That's all anyone ever wanted. Love is how we do. Let no judgment overrule it. Love, I look to you and I sing.
Let love lead us. Love is Christmas. Let love lead us. Love is Christmas.
I love that song. It's beautiful. Blessings upon this gift, blessings upon your generosity. May this go far and wide to create abundance where there is scarcity, to create shelter where there may at first have been no room, at an inn where there may be warmth, where there was a chill. Blessings upon this community and your generosity each and every time it is called for and called upon. To bring peace among the people.
Thunder rumbles in the mountain passes. Lightning rattles the eaves of our houses. Flood waters await us in our avenues. Snow falls upon snow to avalanche over unprotected villages. The sky slips low and gray and threatening.
We question ourselves. What have we done to so affront nature? We worry God. Are you there? Are you there, really? Does the covenant you made with us still hold? Into this climate of fear and apprehension, Christmas enters. Streaming lights of joy, ringing bells of hope, and singing carols of forgiveness high up in the bright air. The world is encouraged to come away from rancor, come the way of friendship.
It is the glad season. Thunder ebbs to silence, and lightning sleeps quietly in the corner. Floodwaters recede into memory. Snow becomes a yielding cushion to aid us as we make our way to higher ground. Hope is born again in the faces of children. It rides on the shoulders of our aged as they walk into their sunsets. Hope spreads around the earth, brightening all things, even hate, which crouches breeding in dark corridors.
In our joy, we think we hear a whisper. At first, it is too soft, then only half heard. We listen carefully as it gathers strength. We hear a sweetness. The word is peace. It is loud now. It is louder, louder than the explosion of bombs. We tremble at the sound. We are thrilled by its presence. It is what we have hungered for. Not just the absence of war, but true peace, a harmony of spirit, a comfort of courtesies, security for our beloveds and their beloveds.
We clap our hands and welcome the peace of Christmas. We beckon this good season to wait a while with us. We, Baptist and Buddhist, Methodist and Muslim, say, come, peace. Come fill us and our world with your majesty. We, the Jew and the Jainist, the Catholic and the Confucian, implore you to stay a while with us, so we may learn by your shimmering light how to look beyond complexion and see community. It is Christmas time, a halting of hate time.
On this platform of peace, we can create a language to translate ourselves to ourselves and to each other. At this holy instant, We celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ into the great religions of the world. We jubilate the precious advent of trust. We shout with glorious tongues at the coming of hope. All the earth's tribes loosen their voices to celebrate the promise of peace. We, angels and mortals, believers and non-believers, look heavenward and speak the word aloud, peace. We look at our world and speak the word aloud, peace. We look at each other and then into ourselves, and we say, without shyness or apology or hesitation, peace, my brother.
Peace, my sister. Peace, my soul.
In years past, we have sometimes told stories of the famous Christmas truce between German and Allied soldiers in World War I. We tell that story because sometimes even just a day of peace, a few hours of peace, can set the stage, can reframe the imagination to show us how the world can be. If we can have peace just for a few hours, then maybe we can have peace for an entire day. Imagine 2 days, then 3, a week of peace, a month even, a year of peace, lifetimes. For many of us, this Christmas, this one, right now, today, is especially chaotic. Can I get an amen? Has it been chaotic in a particular kind of way? There was something extra Christmassy I felt about last Christmas in 2021, when we had all finally been wrestled into spiritual submission. We had lowered the intensity and the expectations of ourselves, finally, and of each other, and we were just happy for whatever we could get. That was last Christmas. That was kind of nice. This year, though, our hopes have come roaring back, and in our earnest Christmas wishes for some normalcy, we have been met instead with frozen pipes, felled trees, COVID, family or health crises, the first Christmas without your loved one, travel complications, dreams deferred. It cuts a little more deeply this year to have waited so patiently for a normal Christmas, only to have disaster strike yet again. And in our deep weariness, may we embrace the spirit of surrender, releasing that sugar plum dream of the perfect Christmas, whatever that is. And we ask the universe, or God maybe, for a truce. Just a moment of peace in a chaotic and confusing world. Does anyone feel like maybe asking for a truce this year? It is always wartime somewhere. This is why we seek peace in a moment, in a time out of time, or in a place set apart, Narnia, or the North Pole, Whoville. Now I know over the past couple of years, or maybe for longer than that, Many of us have pulled away from family members or childhood friends who have been lost to us, lost to a political paranoia or a prideful ignorance, or lost to ideas that harbor bigotry or white supremacy, homophobia or misogyny. And this separation, this long domestic war, can produce devastating casualties, such as isolation, prolonged rage, simmering anger, the loneliness of being misunderstood or maligned, or even the tragedy of being cast out of a familial circle of love. Has anyone had a wrestling like this in their lives these past few years? And on a night such as this, we wonder if there is a chance for a Christmas truce. And I don't mean an apology, not an apology for who you are or what you believe, not a surrender of your deepest values, no, but just a simple and perhaps temporary truce where for a brief time the grudges and the disappointments are set aside and the relationship can have a little space, a little freedom to flourish just for a short time. I grew up witnessing such imperfect domestic truces. Each year, my family on Christmas Eve would travel up the urban grid of Chicago city streets to my grandparents' house on the north side of the city, where we would then have to interact with my uncle. I won't say which uncle or his name. I don't know who's watching on the live stream. But he was an uncle. This uncle, he was sexist beyond belief. He was loud, boisterous. He was insecure and prickly. All the while, he would dish it out, name-calling or poking fun at everyone, knives out, so no one could ever hurt him back. And it worked. I mean, the rest of us would be bullied into silence or would just try to keep up some playful banter until it just became too cruel. And after all the presents were opened, and my grandparents had indeed made Christmas magic happen for all of us kids, we would then pile back into the Plymouth Voyager and head home in the middle of the night. But the memories of my uncle's booming voice, demanding something from the kitchen, or making some tasteless joke, would often reverberate in my Christmas memory. And sometimes I lamented from the back seat, why? I mean, why do we even go? But the question never made it to the front seat. Because it was Christmas time. It was time to be with the family, just be together, come what may. My parents showed up to this Christmas family with as much authenticity as they could and a wish. To get through the evening peacefully was their Christmas wish each year, and to trust that somewhere there was some benefit in our coming together across the generations just for one evening of magic. And as a result of their effort, I do remember the sweet pickles and black canned olives my grandma prepared for us to snack on each year. It's a big part of my annual tradition now. I remember the mountain of gifts, a big showing of generosity for a family who struggled with economic scarcity, but still purchased little boxes of pipe cleaners or socks and wrapped them in shiny paper and ribbons. And my uncle, yes, this uncle, always insisted we watch A Wonderful Life each year. And so its messages became a central part of my childhood Christmas memories. And I do remember the toxic masculinity of those annual gatherings, but I also remember so much more beyond that. And our own family values, the six of us, remained intact and unbothered by this annual trek across the city. So the family Christmas truce was not acquiescing anything at all for the sake of a little family peace. just a little truce. Peace begins in our hearts and extends outward, beyond ourselves, out into the crevices, into the corners and relationships where it is needed most. And so, in the spirit of prayer, I invite you now to place a hand on your heart and to connect with a peaceful feeling. Breathe in peace. Breathe out love. Think of someone in your life who is in need of a truce, who is in need of a little break in the clouds, a little peace breaking through their life. Maybe this is someone with whom you are at odds, or from whom you are estranged. Maybe this is someone who is a person of conflict and tension for you, who you find yourself avoiding, perhaps for a very long time. Hold this person, their name in your heart. Breathe in peace. Breathe out love. Whisper the name of this person into this holy space now. Wish them peace. Wish peace for yourself. Breathe in peace. Breathe out love. Send this prayer outward into this room, into this beloved and precious congregation, this community where we need not think alike to love alike. Send peace all around to everyone here. Breathing in peace, send it outward to your family, where there may be histories of tension and struggle. Breathe again and send the wish of peace outward still, outward to whole entire communities who need a little truce, a peacefulness amidst their struggle. Breathing in peace, relaxing your body into a spirit of peacefulness. Send that peace outward, ever further, outward to nations, places around the world that could use some peace in their daily rhythms, to be released from the terror of war or famine or violence. And as you breathe out, send your deepest Christmas wish for peace ever outward. Say the name of that place or that people now. Say the name of this place so that they may one day find peace everlasting. And when you are ready, breathe in once more. And return to this moment and this place. You can open your eyes and return to this Christmas Eve moment of magic, because the work of Christmas peace begins here. The work of Christmas liberation begins here. And if we are doing the work with all that is our life, it never ends. So may the work of peace begin with each of you, with each of us, and may it flow outward to a more peaceful future for us all. Amen. Blessed be. And now, the time many of the children are waiting for, where we will sing a song of peace and light candles of hope. into Christmas Eve, this moment of magic, and out into the rest of your holiday season, take these words with you and ponder them in your heart. This is a night we honor the birth of great hope and the possibility of justice, of peace, and love to spread throughout this troubled world. May the magic of this Christmas moment bless all of us in the days ahead. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among people, to make music in the heart. So may it be. Go in peace, go in love, go in joy too, and Merry Christmas.
Please rise in body or in spirit. Let's finish singing Joy to the World.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive the King. Let every heart prepare Him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, now gladness reigns. Let hearts their songs employ. While the fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat, repeat the sounding joy.
Go in peace, everybody. Merry Christmas.